Hello and welcome to Bedtime Story with Miss Anna. Are you ready to go to sleep? Kiss your mommy, kiss your daddy. It's time for story time. Tonight we have another wonderful story from Little People Big Dreams. Maya Angelou. Marguerite was born in the city of St. Louis. Her brother called her Maya. When Maya was 4, she and her brother went sent to live with their grandmother in Stamps, Arkansas. Growing up in the South, Maya was treated unfairly because of the color of her skin and because she was a girl. The world outside was very cruel. Home was hard too. When Maya was 8, her mother's boyfriend attacked her. Maya was so upset she stopped talking. A friend of her grandmother's, named Mrs. Flowers, noticed that Maya was afraid to use her voice. Mrs. Flowers showed Maya all kinds of wonderful books and how the words come alive when you read them aloud. Maya found her voice again in the stories and poems of great writers. She loved words so much she read every book in the library. Even though Maya was a great student, she was told that she couldn't get a good job because of the color of her skin. But she had pride and hope. She thought there is nothing I cannot be. She traveled the world and learned to speak a lot of language. At home in America, she worked to help all the people get treated equally. It wasn't until Maya was all grown up that she decided she wanted to be a writer, so she began writing a book about her life. She told the story of a little girl who struggled through hard times but didn't give up. People all around the world were moved by her powerful story and her beautiful words. Maya became a famous writer, teacher, and speaker, inspiring everyone with her belief that you can be anything you want to be. On the day Bill Clinton became president, Maya read a poem. She had once been a little girl who was afraid to use her voice. Now she was speaking to the entire country about her favorite theme, hope. This is Maya Angelou, born 1928, died in 2014. I hope that you enjoyed this book. I have one more book for you. Another wonderful story from Little People, Big Dreams, Amelia Earhart. When Amelia was a little girl, she liked to imagine she could stretch her wings and fly like a bird. She was older, she went to an air show, and the plane soared into the sky, leaving Amelia on the ground. She wished she could go with them and see what they saw. She got a ride in an airplane and liked it so much she didn't want to ever come down. So Amelia learned to fly. After months of practicing, she became the first woman to fly up to 14,000 feet. With a mechanic and a pilot, she was also the first woman to try and fly over the enormous Atlantic Ocean. As they set off, she waved at whales for beneath her. After many hours, they reached land, and the world looked small, so small, the houses and cars were like little toys. Even though Amelia wasn't flying the plane, when they landed, she became famous. People around the world were inspired by her story. Amelia thought that every girl deserved and deserved to fly, so she founded a club with 98 other fearless pilots. A little later, she flew across the Atlantic all by herself. As her 40th birthday approached, Amelia decided she wanted one final challenge, to fly around the world. A brave navigator went with her. They flew for thousands of miles over oceans and jungles, and over the savannah, where giraffes turned their heads in their trail. Some people say the journey was crazy. But Amelia wasn't afraid of living 1,000 adventures, so she flew on like a bird farther than anyone had gone before, and never to return. Because Amelia always followed her own advice. If you want to do something, do it. You never know how far you could get. This is Amelia Earhart, born 1897 and disappeared in 1937. I have one more story for you. Our next and last story for today is called Little People Big Dreams, Harriet Tubman. Minty was a little girl who was born into slavery in Maryland. She was owned by white masters and forced to work for them from dawn to dusk. At night, while her family slept, she wished to be free. But freedom was a faraway dream for Minty, and many other African Americans living in the South. Slave owners were allowed to sell people as if they were property. And one day, Minty's owner sold 3 of her sisters. Minty and her grandparents wondered if they would ever be or see them again. Every other day, Minty was beaten by her masters, but she was always ready to stand up for herself and others. One morning, while protesting, a slave who was trying to escape hit poor Minty in her head. For Minty, that blow was a sign that marked her destiny, and she was now more determined than ever to take her people to northern states, where slavery no longer exists. So one night, she said goodbye to her family and started a long journey north to Philadelphia, guided by the North Star. Minty changed her name to Harriet so she couldn't be traced. When Harriet finally reached Philadelphia, she joined the Underground Railroad, a secret network of safe houses and people who were against slavery. They helped enslaved men and women reach safety in the free states and Canada. Thanks to them, Harriet soon traveled to the South again. She went back for her brothers and sisters, and as many slaves as needed help. For 11 years, Harry repeated the same trip again and again, guiding hundreds of people to the safety of the northern state. She called them her passengers, and she never lost a single one. After years of problems between the northern and southern states, a civil war broke out. Harry signed out to help as a cook, but she soon became a nurse and even a spy too. On a mission to rescue 700 slaves, Harry led 3 steamboats along rivers full of explosives. She became a hero, and everybody called her Moses after the Bible story. Eventually, the war came to an end, and there was a great celebration. Slavery was finally over, and millions of people were free for the first time in their lives. But Harriet's work was not finished. Unequal rule for African Americans carried on long after slavery was over. She took to the stage to demand her rights. Because little Harry knew that you have to use all of your strength to stand up for yourself so that you can stand up for others too, she was free. And this is Harriet Tubman, born in 1822 and died in 1913. I hope that you have a great story time tonight. Have a safe sleep. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Good night, good night, good night.